On February 23, 1905, the first Rotary meeting was held. Paul Harris and 3 other men were present at that meeting. Let's look at who these important men were. We'll start with the father of Rotary, Paul Harris. Paul was born in Wisconsin, but grew up with his grandparents in Vermont. During his youth, he was full of mischief and adventure, but that's another snippet unto itself. Just how and when did Paul develop the concepts of Rotary? Well, let's listen to him in his own words during a radio interview in 1945.
Following my studies at Princeton University and the 3 universities of Vermont and Iowa, I spent the next 5 years in traveling about the world, working as a newspaper reporter, a teacher, and as a salesman for a marble and granite concern in various parts of the United States. And I made several trips to Europe. The experience of these 5 years enabled me to get a clearer insight of my fellow men and broadened my vision. In 1896, after my period of wandering was over, I settled down in Chicago to practice law. It actually took me several years to formulate the idea in my own mind. I first conceived the idea, which developed into the Rotary movement, back in 1900, when, after dinner in the Chicago home of a lawyer friend, I took a walk with him through the residential neighborhood. He stopped at several stores along the way, and I was impressed by the fact that the proprietors were all friends of my lawyer acquaintance. I had come to Chicago 4 years prior to that time, but my clients were merely business friends, not social friends. This experience set me to wondering why I couldn't make social friends out of at least some of my business friends, and I resolved to organize a club.
It was a cold evening on February 23rd in 1905. Paul had dinner at Madame Galli's, his favorite Italian restaurant in downtown Chicago. Joining him was Sylvester Sheely, one of his clients. Sheely was a coal dealer who had served in the Spanish-American War. Paul described him as my most intimate Chicago friend. During dinner, they discussed some of Paul's ideas for a club. Sheely didn't know it at that time, but he was about to become the very first president of the first Rotary Club. After dinner, the two walked over to the Unity building and took the elevator up to the 7th floor. They had prearranged a meeting with Gus Lohr, a mining engineer, at his office. Gus has been described as a stormy, vehement, impetuous, imperative, and domineering personality in one breath, then calm, docile, and lovable in the next. Gus had invited Hiram Shorey, a friend of his, to attend the meeting. Shorey, a merchant tailor, was born in Maine and served as recording secretary during the club's first year. He remained a Rotarian for only a few short years. Tonight's meeting of this gang of 4 became the first meeting of the first Rotary Club. Lohr's office, room 711, has been memorialized as the location of the very first Rotary meeting. The Unity building has long since been demolished, but the contents of room 711 were disassembled and reconstructed on the first floor of Rotary International's headquarters. But wait, there was an important 5th person who attended the second meeting. He was a printer, originally from Michigan, named Harry Ruggles. He became the first treasurer of the Rotary Club and later its president. Harry is remembered for introducing singing at Rotary meetings. According to historians, he was a very moral man who detested off-color language and malicious humor. At a Rotary meeting in 1906, the guest speaker began a story. Harry had heard the off-color ending before and felt it inappropriate for the club. So he jumped up in the middle of the joke and yelled, "Come on, boys, let's sing." He led the club in a rousing rendition of "Let Me Call You Sweetheart." The speaker was embarrassed and insulted by this action. Harry later apologized to the speaker, but the club backed him up. This event created an unwritten rule that still exists today in Rotary. The rule says that every Rotary meeting will be conducted in a manner such that any woman could attend without being embarrassed. Harry, a printer, began the Rotary custom of publishing a roster with photos of each member. He also developed the first version of our Rotary emblem. We owe a big debt of gratitude to the Gang of Four plus one. Their foresight and actions 109 years ago created the Rotary movement. Their commitment to fellowship and service has changed the world forever.